What's going on, guys? This is Joe Young coming at you another video for the week. So let's go ahead and start by answering two questions from you guys. So the first question is from AY11. Spraying hydrogen peroxide into the tank doesn't harm the fish. You got to be very careful with hydrogen peroxide. Now, if you're doing targeting with hydrogen peroxide, it should be okay. And also it depends on the amount, the concentration. Now, if you're just spraying a couple areas here and there with hydrogen peroxide, it should not affect the fish or the tank at all. But if you're like literally emptying the bottle and literally just, going ham on the tank with a spray bottle, then you can have issues. Now, if you kind of overdose, or you think you kind of overdose with the spray of hydrogen peroxide, just do a huge water change. That will dilute the hydrogen peroxide, and everything should be a-okay afterwards. Second question, Post to Potatoes asks, how many times do you feed it? And he was asking this on the anemone video where I was feeding it shrimp. Now, I feed my anemones twice a week with just a small cut or a small portion of the shrimp. I'm thinking of actually dialing it back because I've noticed the clownfish actually would pull some of the flakes throughout the week and kind of give it to the anemone. So I think the anemone is getting plenty of food throughout the week. So currently I'm feeding it twice a week in terms of just shrimp. Alright guys, and that is the questions for the week, and let's go ahead and get started with this week's update. Alright, so for this week I'm picking up from last week where we went ahead and added in live sand, a live rock, and some media from the previous reef tank to try to fast cycle this setup. Like I mentioned before, even if you have established a live rock, live sand, or even media from a previous filtration or a previous system, your new tank will go through another cycle. If you don't believe me, I mean, the test results are really, there, right? So this is nitrites and nitrates here. This is a week after, the tank has been here established, and everything is in here with live rocks. I've actually pulled 4 of those media bags from the system outside and threw it in here, and as you can see, it goes through a cycle. So be careful, guys, when you try to quickly jump start tanks and you start putting in livestock into a brand new system. Always check your parameters. The tank will cycle again, even if it's a mini cycle, it will cycle. So if you think that you're safe, trust me, you aren't safe. Alright, so the tank in the inside is a little bit dirty. I still need to go ahead and wipe down the tank, but I'll go ahead and wipe it down way before I actually add any livestock into the tank. But today, as you can see, I did add in some macroalgae into the tank because, as you know, you can add plants into the tank while the tank is still cycling, and actually this is a perfect time to add plants because it'll definitely suck up all the nitrates in the tank. Until this tank is actually cycled, I can't really continue the next phase of taking down some of the other tanks because I need to actually move the fish from the rack system into this tank and the other tank right next to it. So until this is cycled, I can't really continue the tear down phase of that. So today what I'm going to be talking about is this Ecotech diffuser that I just bought specifically for the rack system outside, but I went ahead and did a test run on this setup just because it's a little bit easier to see and a little bit easier to install side by side. So I'm going to give you guys a few seconds here to guess which one has the diffuser on, the left side or the right side. And as you can see, it's the right side if you guys guessed it correctly. And actually in person you can definitely tell the difference between the shimmering effect. So on the left side, I'm going to kind of zoom in here so you can kind of actually hopefully see this in the camera. So as you can see on the left side here, the shimmering effects from the radions. This is something that, maybe people like, maybe people don't like. So for me, I've kind of gotten used to the radion, so this shimmering effect is just kind of whatever. But if you look on the right hand side though, the shimmering effect is almost like not noticeable. You can't really see it. The actual spread of the light is actually pretty even throughout the actual area that it's actually exposing here. I think the right hand side with the diffuser looks way easier and nicer on the eyes than the left side for sure. But as advertised, there is a 15 to 20% reduction in terms of intensity. Standing here, I can definitely see it. Both of them are actually set to a very low, high intensity, which is around 25% peak here. And just looking at it, this side definitely looks, you know, way brighter than this side. So you guys are probably wondering, why am I even getting a diffuser for such a small, you know, shallow tank here? You know, this one light actually covers the spread very well. There's actually no dark areas on the tank. So actually, why am I using a diffuser in this actual tank setup? Well, if you know anything about radions are very highly concentrated on like the center portion of it. So this center here will actually get the most par. And with a Planet Reef tank, I kind of want the light to be spread evenly across the whole area. So I want, you know, plants on this side, to get a similar effect, or to get enough par, or to get enough light to actually grow correctly and healthy. Now these radions are the freshwater versions, so I'm not using the saltwater version because obviously I'm growing, you know, plants. The plants have a different need versus corals, and there's not going to be any corals in this setup anyways. There's just going to be some livestock and some plants. And because I actually want an even spread, I'm actually going to show you guys the setup outside. So really this tank won't show how good of a distribution this light's going to be, and really we need to go outside and actually see this. Alright, so the test is really on the rack system outside here. And on my freshwater setup, as you can see, I have 2 radions set up, but there is actually a dark area in the middle and a dark area on the far left here. This tank is actually a 4-foot tank, and the spread on each of these LEDs are supposed to be 3 foot, but 3 foot kind of drops off kind of like this. So I'm hoping to see if the diffuser can help push the light a little bit further out to the edge so we can get some growth on the edges. So let's go ahead and install one of the diffusers on this light here and see if it actually will help push the light all the way out here. So let's go ahead and remember that it's dark in this side and the light really cuts off right here, and we're going to see if it actually helps push it all the way out here. Alright, so to install the diffuser, it's super easy. You go ahead and just remove the 4 screws over here. Just make sure you have something in place here just in case the screws actually drop. I have actually a cover here, so I'm not too worried. So go ahead and just remove this, and I'm going to show you a trick in terms of how to remove this, because it's actually very tricky to remove this guy. So once you have all the screws removed, you're going to take a credit card, any credit card. You're going to shimmy into the grooves here. Pick any corner and use that, because it's super tight. It's going to be locked in there. You're going to figure out like I can't remove it. Take a credit card, find a spot here, and literally just pry it open just like that. It falls off just like that. You're going to take this, save it, because you know if you need to put it back together, you'll do it later. And then you're going to take your cover, and I'll show you in a second here. You're going to take your new cover and you're going to put it over, and it snaps on really easily. Alright, so it comes with this white cover. There's only one way it goes in. You screw the 4 screws in place here, and it gets this cover here. And then you're going to take the remainder slid here and literally just snap into place. So let's go ahead and pick any spot. It shouldn't really matter because it looks like it's all the same. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. Just like that. Alright, so the diffuser is in place here. Definitely I can see the spread of the light a little bit further out here than before, but I think that we have just way too much plants so we can actually see like the actual light coming out here. But just noticing, you know, the difference here, if you look from top here, the spread of the light, and you see the spread of the light over here, it's a little bit more out here, right? There's a lot of dark area on this side. There's still dark area on this side, but I think a lot of the plants here is blocking it, but we're getting a better spread on the edges here. Just way too much plants, to be honest. But you can see here, dark spots, that area. A little bit less here, more on that side here. So yeah, definitely I'm going to install the other one on this side, do some test runs, maybe leave this one as is, and see how the light spread helps with the plants here. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's update. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And like always, until next time guys, peace.